So I'd like to call the meeting to order. I am going to do a roll call just to make sure we know who's here. So I just want to remind the board that the meeting is being live streamed with the audio portion available to the public. And I'm going to read off the names of the directors and CA staff who should be joining us. And as I read your name, if you could simply affirm that you're here. Milton?
Yes.
Ginny? Ginny? Janet?
Here.
Dick?
Here.
Lynn? Nancy?
Yep, I'm here.
Rafia?
Here.
Alan? Alan? Renee?
Here.
Andy, did you hear me, Ginny?
Yes.
I think my mic was off. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I'm here, obviously.
Okay, CA staff. Susan?
Here.
Sherry?
Here.
Dennis?
Here. Here.
Lynn? Monica? Okay. All right. So we definitely have a quorum. I want to thank everyone who is participating. Just a little brief intro here. This meeting of the CA Board of Directors be conducted remotely in order to be consistent with the Governor's State of Emergency Declaration. Since the order prohibits more than 10 persons to gather in a physical location for a meeting, and since CA facilities are closed to the general public, this meeting is being conducted remotely. The audio for this meeting is being live streamed to allow the public to hear the board's deliberations and discussions. If any member of the public has any comments, they are certainly encouraged to send them to the CA board email address, which is listed on the agenda as well as on our website. So what I'd like to do is move down to announcements of closed meetings, and I do have one. There was a closed meeting of the Architectural Resource Committee on Monday, March 9th. Started at 1:06 p.m., ended at 2:40 p.m. Present was Deb Bach, Ed Gordon, and McKissy. The vote to close was 3-0-0. It was closed under Section 4, consultation with staff personnel, consultants, attorneys, or other persons in connection with pending or potential litigation. And the purpose was the discussion of new and ongoing covenant cases. So that is all I have in terms of closed meetings. So move to approval of the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
So
Second.
Ginny moved and Renee seconded.
Yeah.
All right, any discussion? I'm going to take a roll call vote. Ginny?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes. Sorry, I have the packet open on one screen and the mute button on the other.
It's all new. We're going to get this. Hopefully we don't have to do it very often. Dick?
Here.
Lynn?
Yes.
Lynn? Good.
Here.
Nancy? Rafia?
Here.
Alan?
Alan votes nay.
Whoops.
Okay. And Renee?
Yes.
Nancy, did you vote? So what I have is 7-1-2. Alan is opposed, and Shari and Nancy haven't.
Wait, I'm voting, yes.
Are you voting? Yes. Good. Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah, I'm playing with a couple of different machines so I can do my notes. It's not easy.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, 8-1-1. All right. So we approved the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes and the Hilo Brook easement. I'd like to go on to board discussion, and particularly questions from the board regarding CA's response to the coronavirus. And Milton, would you like to start adding anything?
Well, this is on here for questions. I plan to send out my weekly update of activities tomorrow afternoon. That will provide more details. But right now, if the board members have any immediate, questions.
All right. Does any board member have?
Yes, I do. Andy?
Ginny,
Um,
you need to up your volume.
I can't.
Yeah, on page 2, Department of Community Services. Seems like.
Can you speak up?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Barely.
Yes, please.
All right, got as loud as I can get it. The Department of Community Services has been in contact with state and local officials to explore the possibility of starting a temporary school-age care site at the Human Arts Center for Emergency Personnel. Sounds phenomenal. How's it going? How's it coming along? I mean, I think that's very creative, and my compliment to your staff.
Jenny, your voice, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm talking about the Department of Community. I think I got as loud as I can. The Department of Community Services on page 2. You're trying to start a temporary school-age care site at the teen center and at the Arts Center. It sounds phenomenal. It sounds like a great idea.
That's something that we have talked about. That's still in the makings, formative stages, because the state is looking at those applications or putting together procedures. What we know about more immediately, and that will be in the report tomorrow, is that the state have approved for some temporary daycare sites for children of public nurses and public safety and personnel, and we're looking at having one of those. We have to still go through the process for that.
But, well, what I'm saying is my compliments for thinking of it, and it's just will be, if we can get it through, it's a valuable service. So my compliments to the staff.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yes, we heard.
Okay.
Lynn, did you have a question? Lynn?
No question.
Andy,
Yes,
I would have loved to, I would have loved to hear, since the memo which Milton has sent us is dated the 20th of March, and it has 6 days, and things have been changing so drastically and so fast. I would have liked to hear an update, not just for us, and anybody who is listening from the residents could also hear that what other things he's talking about. So instead of asking questions line by line, I would just like to, and he doesn't have to give us a report for everything, but anything significant which has changed since the time he has issued us the memo on the 20th of March.
Okay, Rafael, frankly, I don't even know. There's been a number of memos. I don't even know which memo you're reference on the 20th March, but for us, we've been still having, as a senior leadership team, we have our daily meetings where we report out what's going on in each one of the departments. We still have at least 2 staff One of them being the senior member of the senior leadership team, dialing in every morning on the Office of Emergency Management conference call. We still have Dr. Oken every morning giving us an update on what transpired in Howard County, specifically the state of Maryland and the nation every morning. And that's how we're working. Right now, as you know, all of our facilities have been closed. The headquarters facility, we have cut back significantly on the number of team members that are in the building. Everyone who can work from home, and where we've been able to set up with laptops, they are. Others are not working, and we're just going through the process of taking it one day at a time.
I have a question.
Alan?
Yeah, Milton, I saw a request from at least one village, and I'm not sure if it was more than one, to take down the basketball hoops so our courts, which we can't close off, wouldn't be a draw to people. Is anything being done on that?
Yes, Alan, that request came from actually Councilwoman Liz Walsh up in, I guess she has an office in Dorsey Search. We have started taking those hoops down because, unfortunately, they were becoming gathering places for adults and kids.
Thank you.
Andy, I'd like to get into.
Janet?
Yeah, so along the same lines, I would like to suggest that we provide signage in Spanish as well as English. I've noticed multiple families in Long Reach playing on the playgrounds, and yes, there is caution tape, and yes, they should know better, but the sign is only in English, and so if there's a possibility that they're not able to read English, the message may not be as clear.
We can take care of that, Janet.
Thank you.
Nancy, did you have a question?
If I did, I don't remember it.
Are there any other questions from?
Oh, yes, I have one question. Sorry. Milton, did you say that there are still people working in the office, but very few people are but the rest of the people are not working at all? Or can they work from home?
Yeah, we have we have a few people working at the headquarters. We have a few working at the maintenance facility, but most of the individuals that we have been able to set up with laptops, with the VPNs network, are working from home.
Great, thank you.
Which raises the next question: is there, in the short term, obviously we can't tell what's going to happen in the long term should this go way beyond what any of us could imagine. Do we have plans to lay off people because of this?
We have been communicating with our, I think that's Alan and everyone else. We've been communicating with our team members. The most recently email went out today. Basically, as we have the next pay period for the team members, everyone will get paid on the payday of April 10th, on April 10, and that information went out to them today. There will be reductions in their pay. Basically, right now, I was looking for the memo, but I think we have is that what we're trying to do is that on the pay period on April 10th, team members will get 75% of their base pay.
Milton, could I help you with that?
Is that Susan?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so tomorrow is a pay date for Columbia Association, so everyone will be paid that day for the hours that they worked, and that was all before the closure. So the next pay period actually started, let me look at my calendar here, on the 15th and went through the 29th. So for that pay date, which is April 10, we committed to paying all the team members who were on the payroll at March 27 the same amount that they got paid for April 10, with the exception of overtime, because they certainly didn't work overtime while we were closed. So then the next pay date would be April 24, and we communicated with the workforce today that they will receive, everyone will receive 75% of their pay, gross pay from March, from the March 27 pay, with the exception of the senior team that will only receive 50% of their pay. And that's as far out as we've gone. We're working very hard. It's a changing dynamic, not, even as much as hourly, as far as what the rules are and what the options are for relief for everybody. So we're taking this basically a pay period at a time. But so through April 10, everybody gets 100% of their pay. April 24, so through the month of April, I think we've done a super job taking care of our team members while we have literally no revenue coming in.
I appreciate that you all are participating in the sacrifice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Milton?
Yeah, I have one more. So actually, this is for Susan. I was just curious, I've heard of businesses intentionally laying off people so they could collect unemployment. I was wondering if we intended to figure that into the equation, or is that some future consideration?
So that is part of the conversation for the next pay. So it's at this point we just really don't know, and we're trying to, there was new guidance on unemployment compensation that came out at about 5:30. So we're going to do all that we can to support our team, and we're definitely looking at what other sources of resources there are for them.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Nancy?
I just want to be clear. Susan, did you say that the senior staff was going to take a 50% cut from the April to May?
Well, beginning on Monday, yes.
Wow.
Nancy, there's a pay period that starts on Monday that starts on the 30th of, I think it's the 30th of April. And with that paycheck will be on the 24th of April. That's when the senior leadership team will be taking the 50% pay cut.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very noble of you guys. You work hard, you deserve the money, but nobody expected this.
The senior staff, the president, vice president, all of the division heads. Sounds like a big salary, so taking big cuts.
Someone, Lynn, you're talking and it's being picked up.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Lynn, do we have any questions?
You have a question?
Yeah. I think it's a good plan.
Any other questions for Milton?
Just a comment. Nice to hear all that going on, and I'm assuming there is a freeze on all the new hires, especially all the school guards, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the new financial request.
Andy, before we move on, I just have
Sure, Alan.
You sort of went fast over the any discussion about the agenda, and I was not able to ask my question then. I get that we have to add this item that we're about to talk about, but if we hadn't had this item, according to the agenda, there's basically nothing else to talk about except for the short discussion we just had. I'm wondering why we don't just add this discussion we're about to have to whatever the regular agenda items were that we were supposed to do on this date, or did I miss something, an email that informed me of this that I should go back and read?
Alan, part of what happened is because of the situation,
Yes, they are.
they were not able to prepare background for any discussion of any of the other issues. And so it didn't make a whole lot of sense to put them on. Staff did not have time to do the dashboard. we did not get any information on the neighborhood center stuff. So what we did is we took that off, and we'll put that back on when we can get some background information.
And also, Andy, there was no audit committee meeting, so there was no recommendation for the third quarter financials from the audit committee.
Right.
I guess it just seems to me, and you know, we approved the agenda, so we'll go with it, that this would have been a lovely time to schedule some discussions that we keep saying we want to have, but we don't have. And now we're going to add these agenda items to a future agenda that already is full. It seems like we just missed an opportunity. I'm done.
Sure. I think also from my point of view, Alan, is this was our first virtual meeting. It seems to be going okay. I'm hoping it continues to go okay. And you're right. We will probably add more as we have more virtual meetings. And also got to find out how to do presentations and put up information and things like that.
It's real easy.
Yeah,
It's what my whole business day is, all day, every day.
you can send them to me. I'll share my screen the whole time. It's fine.
There you go.
Thank you. So I'd like to go on to the financial request. And Milton, if you or Susan would like to kind of start us off.
Susan, would you please go ahead?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute my phone. So we, as you know, we had decided to close a day before the state, the governor mandated that. So we bill, and then the schools closed as well. So we decided, we made the decision to not bill for memberships or for school-age services without knowing, you know, what the outcome, how long this would last. We bill on March 18, or on the 18th of every month, and we just thought that our community just wouldn't appreciate being billed for 2 weeks when we were closed for sure, and then we didn't know what was going to happen. So at this point, we know that schools are closed till at least April 24. We have no idea when the governor will lift the closure that impacts our sport and fitness facilities, and thus we have just about no incoming cash at this time. I mean, maybe a little bit of money from old, from things that were outstanding, but almost nothing. So we had a line of credit. We do have a line of credit with the Bank of America, as you all know from reading the financial statements. We've had that for many years. It's got a $30 million cap with a ladder. So each month we tell them what we need each month. We project that. Lynn does a super job with that. And when we realized that, we knew we wouldn't get the sport and fitness revenue for the month and still had our obligations, we asked, we wanted to increase the line, but they said, that they wouldn't be willing to do that. So it's on the line of credit's unsecured, and I kind of understand that, but I don't at the same time. So anyway, we're working with TD Bank, who has our existing term loan, the $30 million term loan that we issued in June of 2014. The balance as of the end of January, which you could see on the financials, is $20,803,000, and they have given us just a preliminary option of a $20 million term loan that would be a 5-year term, and a $20 million credit line with a 36-month term. So we are in the process of gathering information that they requested to evaluate this. I mean, they already know our credit, so we have a kind of a head start on this. We really need to proceed with this in order to maintain any kind of reasonable pricing or interest rates. And we will have to cover our cash requirements until we get some, the annual charge billing in July, and hopefully collection as it usually comes in the third week of the month or so. So this clearly demonstrates the critical value of these facilities, that these memberships and the facilities that support them, and to the organization's financial well-being. Someone asked the question, well, what about the annual charge? The annual charge covers about 58%, or a little over half of our expenses, and the rest of that is covered by the sport and fitness and the school age services money. So that's kind of a long-winded
Susan?
story. Any questions?
Yeah, Susan, I'm not clear. Help me understand, I'm really feeling financially stupid. Your first sentence of your memo says, due to the impact on CA's cash flow, we need to pay off our line of credit.
Right.
I don't get why we need to pay it off if we have no money coming in.
Because
It seems like
they do not, because Bank of America does not want to continue to extend it to us with, that credit line is unsecured, the Bank of America financing. So they have no security, and the funds that they would have been expecting us to use to pay them back are the sport and fitness revenues, and that's not coming in.
And so if we didn't pay it off, what would happen?
You'd be in default.
Well, right. We wouldn't be paying. So it's not so much that. So they won't let us continue to borrow on it. Is the issue. So
Right. So wait a minute. I have a question. That goes to Alan's question. So I thought that the line of credit was paid down from the assessment.
correct.
Okay, but it's not sports and fitness then.
Well, it's paid. The timing of it is paid when. So we pay it off in the summer when we receive the,
Right.
the annual charge revenue.
Right.
But the line is unsecured. So.
Right.
And so between now, between now and then, there is no prospect. And I think, I think the bank is overreacting, but there's nothing, we can't really do anything about that. But so we don't use the annual. So it's the way that the bank looks at the credit. It's unsecured. So then, what do they get? They get the second place, which would be the sport and fitness revenue.
Right, right. No, you said that it was because that you paid it off with sports and fitness, but you really paid off with the assessment.
Cover current expenses without charging up the line, and Bank of America is not willing to increase our limit on it. So therefore, we need additional credit to cover our short-term expenses.
Correct. Thank you.
Susan, I have a question.
Nancy?
Susan, is this the same $3 million we talked about in the email yesterday?
No, that is
That's
some
another.
funds from cash reserve that we have in the self-insurance trust.
Okay.
Okay. Can I get in the queue?
I think you're next, Renee.
Okay, so here's my question. I understand. I used to work in banking. I understand what B of A is doing. My question, Susan, is how much cash do we have on hand? How many payroll periods can we get through based on the cash we have in the bank today?
0.
Okay, that's what I want. I'm fine with that. I just wanted to know the answer. Okay.
I would just like to add that, basically we need cash, and TD Bank is willing to loan us money, and hopefully get us through to the summer and until the situation resolves itself. But without the cash, we're not even going to be able to make payroll.
Right. Well, I understand that. I just wanted everyone to understand how fast we have to move. That's why I asked that question. That this isn't, not just with TD Bank, but with everything else that's coming up. How fast we need to move to do things.
If I may say something, it's not to say that we would not have any funds to take care of the payroll. I would say at least for the next 2 or possibly 3 payrolls should be covered from the excess funds we have in our self-insurance trust. So to say that we have nothing is very alarming.
So,
But
go ahead.
Go ahead, Susan.
So,
I'm not sure what the question is. So right now, we do not have funds in the bank. I've asked the Risk Management Committee to release $3 million from the General Liability Self-Insurance Trust. That is $3 million of the excess funding according to the actuary. And
Right.
they're to vote on that by tomorrow noon. So then I can transfer that. So 1 month of payroll is $2.3 million. We have other obligations such as rent and other things that we still have to pay. So I don't think it's not 100% accurate to say that $3 million will only be used in payroll, because there are we have some other responsibilities. We still have to pay, some minor other things. We have cut we have deferred all capital unless it's a safety issue, and I have to approve that before anybody picks up a hammer. And then we have also had the managers go through, they're in the process of updating their FY20 projections, for just the remaining 5 weeks of the year, and then starting their FY21 budget projections as well.
Susan, the only thing I was saying is that at least my understanding was biweekly payroll was running 1.2 million, I thought. Am I wrong that it is 2.2 something?
No, 1.2 for one payroll, 2.4 for the month.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was talking about. So, I was assuming it is 1.2 million and you're drawing 3 million. I do understand there are other obligations. So at least until you have 2 payrolls, I'm assuming, if you're controlling all the other expenses, until you make arrangements for the additional funding. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Nancy?
So with all of this, I would imagine that there are plans for us to revisit FY21 budget?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Nancy, that process is already underway. We're looking at the operating side, the operating budget, and the capital budget when it comes to FY21.
Okay.
I expect that staff will have something for us sometime in the month of April to start all of those discussions,
Okay.
because we don't know exactly when sports and fitness might get up again.
Andy, if you look at it from the point of view, there was a press release yesterday from Dr. Ball, and I know we are working from a directive from the governor, but Dr. Ball came out with a press release and saying that all Howard County recreation and parks facilities are closed until the 24th of April. We just believe that our sport and fitness facilities will be closed for a while. Even the signage we have on the doors now, as of today, is that we're stating that they're closed indefinitely until further notice.
Right.
Dick, you have anything to
I
add?
would say this feels like a no-brainer to me.
Right. You have no choice.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
So,
Go ahead.
may I make a motion then?
Well, that's coming up. That's
I
coming
have
up.
I have a question.
Sure. Nancy?
So for the benefit of my notes, and I can make it clearer, all memberships are being extended for the length of time that this is taking for us to get up and running again? Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Yes, Nancy.
Membership. So if somebody's membership was going to end March 30th or April 30th, that period of time, whether it's 2 weeks or 6 weeks or God knows how long, their membership will be extended because they weren't able to use the facilities.
Well, they didn't pay for that yet, so but yes, that's our expectation is that we won't bill at this point. We were not billing until we reopen, and that the term of the memberships. Well, no, if they were going to renew in April, they'd renew in April. They'd renew in May. I don't think that you can make that statement. It's much more. It's more complicated than that.
Okay.
Nancy, the best.
Well, I think what many of us think, I think we have some old thinking, I know I do, that people like pay for the year. People generally are on pay-as-you-go.
Right.
If I'm correct about that, so they just won't be paying for the part
It's
when we're
not
closed.
paying right now.
It will be extended.
Well, but the
No,
point
can
is
you
that
just,
some people
I
did
would
pay
just
for the
leave that
year.
alone, that we'll hope that where our members are still engaged and that they will be, back in the facilities when they reopen, and we are evaluating all the time what we are doing with the terms and the.
Okay. I guess
and
we'll
Would
worry about
Nancy
that
be
later.
would Nancy be safe to say that our intention is that no one is going to be charged for any of the time that we're closed?
No.
Really?
How can we not say that?
Well, because we may, first of all, other organizations are continuing to bill for their memberships, and we chose not
Wow.
to. But we may say if we're going to restart, I would think that would be our hope. But if we're going to have any kind of ramp up in reopening, we may start it a week early or 2 weeks early or something. I don't know. Is it really important that you make that point at this time?
We are getting questions, at least I know I'm getting
Yeah.
questions about it.
People
Then
wanna
tell them to
know.
call the Member Service Center.
And then if you don't know, they certainly wouldn't know.
Well, again, this is such a fluid situation, and we still have to make sure that we are looking out for CA as well as for our members.
No
all
question
intertwined.
about it.
We may be able to forgive part of it. We may not. We won't know until we know when we start.
Milton, I have a suggestion. Would it be possible for staff to put some wording together for board members that when people ask us, we could just give them the corporate line?
Well, and it's not so much we want to give a corporate line. I want to make sure that what we're saying and sharing with the board is right what we're doing. Right now, I think the best thing to say that based on the information we out there, that our memberships, we're not billing for membership as of, I think the date was the 16th of March.
The 18th. So we didn't, right, we didn't bill for, right. So I think it is probably safe to say that our intention is to not charge people for the time that we are closed.
That was my.
Okay, I've come back around to say that, and if we have to change that, we'll change it later.
Can I jump in?
Sure, Dick.
It seems to me that this is such a fluid situation right now that it's very difficult to make final plans of any kind, and we're really playing it by ear and seeing what's going to happen. So I think we can share that with people. We can say, look, right now this is our intention, but we're watching the situation on a day-to-day basis, and we'll have more information as things develop.
I think that's perfect.
Okay, any other questions before we move on to the votes?
Andy, I'm sorry, this is Susan again. I want to make it clear that we don't have, we're working with TD. I don't have a term sheet. I don't have loan approval. And so this is, please don't think that this is a done deal. It is we're nowhere near a done deal at this point.
Are you going to require any further approval as things go on?
I wouldn't need to unless the amount were to change, but no, I don't expect anything else in those resolutions to change.
Okay.
I think the bigger worry is if for some reason TD decides not to go ahead, and then we're definitely going to have to resync.
Yes, we would.
We would have some other options. They would be much less attractive than this.
I think we cut the board salaries.
Oh.
Just one question on that, senior staff taking 50% of the pay. Susan, are you going to defer the other 50% when the financial condition is better than the CA can pay the senior staff their deferred salary, or is it 50% reduction?
50% reduction.
So
We have
50%
no intention.
reduction.
We have no intention of deferring it or repaying anyone.
Well, that's just unfair to the senior staff. That's just unfair. I think that what you should have done is defer those salaries for the senior
No,
staff.
Raffia, no. We've gone through this. We've looked at the numbers. I had one-on-one calls today with each one of the members of the senior leadership team. And this is the approach we have to take. No, it's not deferred. It's a reduction, and we're looking at it for. We just have to be fluid with it.
Okay, that's fine. I just
may I also add that we also want to lead by example, and if we're not going to be able to, which we certainly wouldn't, to be able to defer anyone else's compensation, why would we do ours?
Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
All right. I would like to move on to the board votes. Because
So, Andy, go ahead.
Yes, Susan? Susan, you had something?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh,
I think
No,
that was
that was
Renee.
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 I was going to make a motion. Can I make a motion?
Okay, well, first, what I need is a motion to waive the 3 reading rule.
That's what I was going to try to do.
Okay.
So I'd like to move to waive the 3 reading rule to allow for a vote on the new financial request.
I
I'll
second
second
it.
that.
Who seconded it?
I did. Oh, Raffia, you can have it.
All right. So Renee moved and Raffia seconded. We waived the 3 motion rule. I'm going to take the roll call vote. Jenny?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Raffia?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
I vote yes. So that's unanimous.
Okay.
And
I make-
what was the motion? Can you give me the motion one more time?
So the motion was we waived the 3 reading rule that is in our policy when we have to make major budget. We're
Right.
supposed to discuss major budget issues 3 times.
Right, but this is about the financial request?
Yes, this is about the financial request. Okay, so now,
I think it's worth
Andy-
noting in the minutes that motion required a 2/3 majority, and it
true,
succeeded.
you are correct. Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion then to
Yeah.
approve
Don't get ahead of me.
the resolutions as submitted by staff regarding the financial situation?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Nancy seconded. So Renee moved and Nancy seconded to approve the resolutions on the borrowing. All right, any further discussion? I'll call the vote. Jenny?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Raffia? Raffia?
Raffia, your mute's working really well.
No, it's not the mute. Alan, usually I don't vote on the transaction involving interest, so I'm going to abstain.
Abstain, okay. Alan?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Andy votes yes. So the vote was 8-0-1 with Raffia abstaining. Okay. So I did submit a really quick chairs report, and I hope you got a chance to read it. I just wanted to acknowledge all the work staff has done in this crisis, and also acknowledge that Pat Kennedy's wife Ellen has passed away.
Yes,
Yeah, that's so
Oh
sad.
dear.
a great lady.
Yes, and if
sorry. Yes.
we had actually met in person, we'd probably have a condolence card signed, but we're not going to do that for now.
Andy, I reached out to Pat on behalf of the Columbia Association,
Oh, good.
and I also committed to him that once things are back to where we can move about, I'm going to take him to lunch.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Milton.
Good, thank you.
So I will remind you that all of you should have received the third quarter financial reports, which were distributed by courier. And if you do have any questions, please send an email to Susan with a copy to Milton.
Okay.
So,
Actually,
just ask a
if we could,
question?
my preference would be that people send their question to the board email address with a copy to Susan, or Susan with a copy to the whole board, so we all get to see what the questions are.
Send
Yeah,
it
that
to
would be great.
Susan with a copy to the board, because I'd rather it go to the person who supposed to answer it.
That's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure that
That
we all
get-
could hear the questions
Yeah,
Sure.
good.
and get the answers.
Yeah.
Susan, did you have anything?
No, I did not. Thank you.
All right.
I do want to say, I would like to thank you all for your, just for your leadership and understanding in this situation. It's beyond difficult, and so we just really appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Well,
Indeed.
great to see
You're
you.
quite well.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think the scariest part of this is if we do it right, we meaning everybody, it's going to actually last longer. In that we're
Right.
flatten the curve, but it pushes the curve out. So that's like a whole other realm of unknown.
I got a question, Andy.
Sure, Jenny.
Would it help if whatever we send out to the public, we make it clear where our revenue is coming from? What percentage is coming from sports and fitness in the schools, and what percentage is coming from the assessment? I don't think most people understand that. And so
Actually,
you can really see the impact of the closing on both the school before and after school program lack of revenue and the facilities lack of revenue. I thought it was 58% or something.
Jenny,
It
that
is on an
information is on the
annual
website. On the website, and also in CA's annual budget and all that.
Right, I understand that. I'm saying if there's something specifically going out on the membership or on what we just did or something like that, that we think about including that as a sort of a reminder. I don't know.
I think that's a good idea. We'll look at that.
And, perhaps we could have even a letter from the board thanking the staff for all of the work they're doing and the sacrifices that they're making,
Yes.
to
I
keep
agree.
it together.
I don't remember. I can't get that voice, but I think it might be Len. Len, I appreciate that greatly, that idea, but let's hold off on that because we still have a long way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if they
Well, it's
don't
in my
screw
notes
this up.
already. I never delete from my notes.
Okay.
If I can just jump in here, I think it's very important that we let the community know that we are making sacrifices, and this is, this is a good chance to show what we're doing for the community.
We could perhaps just do that individually, Facebook posts, things like
Yeah.
that.
Well, that's a communications problem, and let's just make sure we get the message out.
The only caution I would raise on that is just it is very early in this process, and we don't know
Right.
what we're going to look like when we reopen, or what we'll be able to do, or whether we'll be able to keep things in the same level of wonderful spiffiness that we had been. So I'm just concerned that there will be a disconnect between maybe what people see or what they have access to when the mandate's lifted versus that message. So I don't think I'd make a big deal about that right now.
Absolutely right, Susan. I agree with you 100%.
Isn't that all the more reason to be communicating with people constantly so they know that we're on it? We've got their needs in mind. We got CA's needs in mind, and we're
still alive.
doing what we can do.
Important to let them know we're still functioning.
Well, everyone, I would recommend that in your conversations, just let everyone know, just like any other organization in Howard County, we're going through some rough patches. We're making some adjustment when it comes to our financial resources, our human resources, and right now we can't tell anyone how we're going to look when we come out of this, but we're going to be working at becoming the organization reaching our full potential. I don't want to sound fluffy, but we're just going through a rough patch like all other organizations, and we're making the sacrifices and doing the things we need to do to come out on the other side.
Sounds like a wonderful message that ought to be on the front page of our website.
Yeah, I agree.
We can't make promises, but we can all hope.
Right.
And work towards them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I didn't hear any promises in what Milton said, just
exactly
letting people know we're on it.
No, yeah, I think that's a good idea, Alan.
The one thing I want to ask all the board members to please communicate back to your villages about the seriousness of CA's financial situation, and it may very well have an impact on them. The bulk of the money comes, through CA to the village, and the villages, aren't getting any rental income. And so I think they need to be aware of the situation and what might happen in the future. They might need to start preparing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the message we as board members have to communicate back to our board.
Andy, would it be a good idea to, not immediately, but maybe in a couple of weeks, have a meeting for the village boards? Or at least the village board chairs?
I mean, we could certainly consider that.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
But Andy is correct. Need to inform them, they should be informed of all the discussions or, the things which is the way it is going on now, so that they are also up to date with the CS situation and, the upcoming status of perhaps their grants and things like that.
So this is Susan. I'm going to be, we're scheduling a virtual meeting with the village managers for hopefully Monday. And I was going to tell them, we're also looking into trying to, I want to just give them some help too, that they should, consider their insurance coverage and maybe filing a claim, and what other resources in the community that, grants and loans and things might be available, and then just talk through what we're doing with our team members. So we're going to start that communication on Monday, hopefully.
Right.
I have a question.
Nancy?
I saw the request for support from CA from the villages pertaining to the election at the end of April. Is there any idea? Has anybody spoken to anybody? Do we know what's going to happen with that, or is it still too early?
Nancy, I responded directly to Susan Smith, who sent it to me.
Right.
Right. So I'm in River Hill, and we, I think, along with Oakland Mills, got a attorney's opinion on the elections, And I'm actually the chair of the village elections because I'm not running this time. And we are going to move to push back the elections to some time period in the future. And we're going to do that on Monday through a virtual meeting. And that the attorney said that we could do that and gave us language for the motion.
Is that for all the
Yeah,
villages?
Harper's Choice was part of that as well, and we're doing a similar thing.
Wow.
Right.
Well, Oakland Mills got advice from an attorney, and he said there's nothing in our bylaws that would prohibit us from doing complete absentee ballots. So that's what we're doing, and we're keeping the same deadlines. It'll just be all absentee ballot.
Oh,
which
okay.
of course, that's mostly who vote anyway. So that means that Oakland Mills, some of the villages then will likely move forward with the election, and others apparently will not. Is that it?
Right. Well, yes. And just so you know, Nancy, in our village, I'm not up for re-election till next year. So we don't, the attorney said that they're not under the same timeline to have an election. And they would be if I were up for re-election.
Well, there's
Does that
also
make
the
sense?
village board.
Pardon?
There's also the village board.
Right, but they said that we could, the way that our village documents are written, that we could push that election out. I don't know, he gave us a certain number of days, like 3 months or something. And that given the current situation with the state of emergency, that we could either have an absentee election or a vote by mail, or we could push the election out so many days. So Monday night, we're going to vote on that through a virtual meeting.
Okay.
I can tell you from Owen Brown, we do not have any contests. So basically, we're just going to stick to our original schedule, and the transition will occur beginning of May, just as it normally would.
Okay.
And I think
we don't have a contest either.
Longreach, as far as I know, we don't have a contest either. It's only village board, but they also waived the requirement for signatures on the petition so that anyone could submit, and they could submit online. So we made accommodations, so we plan on having it on time.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it. Could you please repeat that?
Yes. So in Longreach, we have waived the requirement to have 10 signatures so that no one has to go door to door trying to collect them. And they are allowed to submit their petitions online. I think currently we do not have a contested election, although there was one election packet requested that has not been submitted. So I'm not sure if that one has come back yet or not, but we plan on proceeding on time. And the majority of ours are absentee as well. So we are looking into the staff is currently evaluating our ability to vote via email for those who don't submit the absentee ballot.
Dick, what about Dorsey?
I haven't heard anything. We have some village board seats open, but I haven't heard anything about how that's going to be handled.
Lynn, how about you?
I believe we do not have an election this year. It's uncontested.
All right, anything else?
I just want to make it clear, since I am not rerunning, and Hickory has one candidate from the board. So I guess as of April 30th, that automatically would be, taken over, or I was just wondering what's happening with this whole election thing. My term will end officially. My term will end as of April 30th. That's all I'm just trying to clarify. Or is there an expectation to continue until, the board officially appoints the other people? That's what I'm asking.
Rafia, this is Milton. Is my understanding when it comes to the CA rep from the villages, that person sits until until the position is until you replace.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, until the replacement is sworn in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Milton, one other question. Is there I'm trying to think of regular communication of the villages without overloading you all. Is there a regular communication you all are making to CA staff in general that could simply be copied to all the village managers for distribution to their boards?
Let's start with the first part of your question, Alan. Yes, we have Kristen on. I remember our senior leadership team. She's in contact with the village managers every day, and she shares information from our daily meetings with the village managers. And the other part,
great, thank you.
And the other part, yes, there's information that we're sharing with the villages. For example, they ask for information on how to develop a personnel policy. And so, yes, we're working with them on a daily basis.
Okay,
thank you.
That is great. Especially, I think, I'm just thinking about, and I think Susan and you are already taking care of that, looking for the business interruption insurance, looking for all of the funding, perhaps the grants or the loans available from the trillion relief bills and things like that. And I'm assuming that somebody is totally, I understand, with Susan Harris concentrating on that. I think that information is very valuable to the all 10 villages as well, so that they can pursue and continue to, take that route as well for additional funding.
Yes, we're sharing information. There's a lot of it unique. Let's start with CA. Unique CA size with a lot of the funding, whether they're grants, a loan, or potential forgivable loan coming down from the state or the federal government, is focused on small business, 500 or fewer employees. So CA would not fall into that category. Where the villages may fall into that, information is being provided with them, but also there's a caveat in there that they have to make sure that if the villages like CA or 501c4 organizations. And so
are we 500 full-time equivalent people, or are we talking about, I know our number is higher, but are we more than 500 full-time equivalent?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Wow. Okay.
Also, the new bills don't speak in terms of full-time equivalents. They simply speak in terms of employees, and employees are identified as full-time or part-time. So it's really just an employee count, not an FTE count.
Okay, but the relief do allow for us to apply with the state and the counties, etc., to try to seek out funding to the loans, correct?
Well, I haven't done an analysis for the villages, but certainly since they fall under the small business definition because they have fewer than 500 employees, it's quite possible.
Okay.
So we're working on some of that, and I have preliminary information. I'm going to give it to them as we get it, and we'll do as much as we can. But our resources are stretched a little thin too. So, but that's why I'm going to talk with them hopefully on Monday.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks a lot.
Once again, I'll just stress that since each of you have contacts in with your manager and your village board, just kind of let them know that the situation and that they're going to hear more.
All right.
And Andy, also please, everyone, tell your village managers to stay in touch with Kristen.
Good point.
Okay. Kristen, okay.
All right. Is there anything else? We have talking points.
Hi, Andy. It's Janet Loughran. And hello,
Janet.
board members.
Hi,
Janet is our recorder for tonight.
Okay.
Thank you, Janet.
My pleasure. There are 2 talking points. The board approved a motion to waive the 3 reading rule to allow a vote on the new financial request. The minutes will reflect that the board met the requirement of a 2/3 majority to pass the resolution. The board of directors approved the resolution submitted by staff regarding the financial situation.
Thank you, Janet. All right, I want to thank all the board members and all the staff members. This is our first time. We will improve, and we'll make some changes. But thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Andy,
Yes.
Andy, I'm sorry.
Yes,
on
Alan.
the talking point, is there a reason to be vague about what the resolution we approved? I mean, just on the financial situation sounds like it could be anything.
Right.
Well,
It's public information.
Could we work on that? That would be just approve the resolution for new financing, because that's really what it is.
Yeah, something like that would even just, that'd be fine. I don't need you to go into a lot of details, but
Yes, that's
That
taken
would help.
directly from, that language is taken directly from the agenda.
I understand. But that doesn't
No.
mean it's the best language to make sure we know what we're talked about.
Well, we said new financing.
We'll try to make sure that it says financing, new financing.
Thank you.
Good point, Alan. Thank you. All right. Thank you once again, and thank IT staff for working this out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
Night.
Stay healthy, everybody.